Hi, my name is Rick Bailey, and I'm a neurology recruitment consultant with RosmanSearch. And today I'm going to talk about how to start your job search, and in particular some priorities to think about as you begin your job search. Most people are not lucky enough to get every single thing on their wish list, so unfortunately, finding a job on the beach making $1 million a year with a 4-day work week just isn't likely. However, I'm here to help you think about some priorities to make sure that you find the perfect job for you, even if it's not making $1 million on a beach with a 4-day work week. First, and likely most important, is family. There's a good chance that your family has been traveling all over the country or maybe even the world while you were in training, and they may not have had much of a choice in the places that they have lived. Now's a chance for them to have more of a say in where your family ends up. Some important family considerations are, can your spouse or partner find a job and a profession in the area that you choose? If they're in a niche profession, it could be difficult in smaller towns. If they can't find a job, this could result in problems later on. Another thing to consider is proximity to extended families and in particular aging parents. Establishing a radius either by car or flight will be helpful as you move forward. And then there's quality schools. So even if you don't have kids now but think you may in the future, finding an area near quality schools, whether it's public or private, is always important. Ultimately, wherever you end up, you want to be able to answer yes to the following question. Can my family be happy here? If yes, you may have found the right location. If no, you may want to keep looking. Location is a priority that seems somewhat self-explanatory, as everyone generally knows which cities and regions that you like. However, since location is one of the things that you can't change once you're there, it's important to make sure you get it right. Figuring out your priorities and staying true to them will be important. So if you're a big city person and you get a lucrative offer that's an hour outside the city in a more rural area, it's important to think about how happy you'll eventually be. Would you want to commute each way, or would you move outside the city? It's decisions like these that you'll want to make sure that you think through. Another huge implication with location is demand for your subspecialty. If location is a huge priority for you, but there isn't a demand for your subspecialty in the area, then something has to give. So now that you've thought about family considerations and locations, now it's time to think about what kind of practice you want to join. We generally see 4 types of practices: academic medical centers, academically affiliated practices, community hospitals, and traditional private practices. While in your residency and fellowship, you may not know which one is the best for you. It's completely okay to talk with 2, 3, or all 4 of the practice types. Eventually, you'll want to start narrowing down the practice types that best suit you. It's important to know that it's common for there to be overlap in the practice types. For instance, many community hospitals and even private practices have opportunities for teaching and research. Figuring out which aspects you like in a practice and then seeking that out will help you find the ideal position for you. Next, we're going to talk about makeup of a practice. When we talk about practice makeup, we're really talking about the intangibles that can really make or break your work experience. Something that I'm sure you've already heard a lot about is work-life balance. The perfect amount changes from person to person, but knowing what is right for you is important when evaluating positions. Another huge intangible aspect of the job, which we have already briefly touched on, is subspecialty volume. You have or will spend a year more of your life in fellowship, and when you're finished, you'll likely want to see a significant amount of subspecialty volume. Figuring out the right amount of subspecialty volume is something that only you will know, but it's important to think about what ideal looks like and what okay looks like. In a perfect world, you may want 100% volume, but would be okay with 60%. While 100% may be achievable, it may cause you to sacrifice other priorities versus a position that offers 60% subspecialty volume, but allows you to have some of your other priorities. Another thing to think about is the size of the practice. A smaller practice might mean that you have more of a voice in the practice and perhaps quicker potential for leadership, but also may mean that you have to take more call. A larger practice might mean less call and more mentorship, but you'll be just one of many and have less of a say in the direction of the practice. Scenarios like these are very common, and it's a type of give and take that you'll want to think about when applying for positions. And now we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, and that's compensation. One of the most important first steps in a job search is figuring out your target income, essentially figuring out how much you want or need to make in a given year. When you're talking with practices, know that they usually don't come up with the dollar figures out of thin air. They usually use internal and external salary benchmarking data. While you can't get your hands on the internal data, there are external sources that are available and can help you figure out what a competitive offer looks like. When comparing an offer and determining what is fair, you'll want to know a few things, such as the pay disparity in an academic versus non-academic practice. There can be quite a difference in the two and can be as much as $100,000 or more per year. Another thing to consider is regional differences. Oftentimes, people think that an area with a high cost of living, such as New York or LA, will pay more, but it's generally quite the opposite. Bigger cities will typically pay less than suburban and rural areas simply for supply and demand reasons. An often overlooked aspect of compensation is sign-on bonuses, relocation reimbursement, and student loan repayment. Generally, one or all of these types of bonuses will be available, but thinking about which one is most useful to you can really help as you seek out the positions. Hopefully, this video will get you thinking about how to begin and prioritize your job search. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.